It began with a disastrous decision to call the election in the pouring rain and stand there like a drowned rat. And at every twist and turn, things have got worse for Rishi Sunak. But there's still 3.5 weeks to go before polling day, and things could continue to spiral out of control.
The last thing I wanted to do was cause anyone any hurt or upset, which is why I apologise unreservedly for the mistake that I made. And I just hope that veterans and others can find it in their hearts to forgive me for that, and also consider my record when it comes to supporting our armed forces with a historic increase in investment, but also making sure that we have a minister sitting around the cabinet table focused on veterans affairs with more support than we've ever had to make this the best country in the world to be a veteran. But as I said, I didn't intend to cause anyone any hurt or offence, which is why I apologise unreservedly for the mistake that I made, and I hope, as I said, people can find it in their hearts to forgive me.
No, I am bloody loyal to the North East, Tom. I care about this constituency.
So you can't justify the way you have been parachuted into Basildon and Billericay. You're not denying it's a stitch-up and it's anti-democratic.
Emily Thornberry today has admitted...
I'm going to stop you now. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. You said in an interview earlier this year you were bloody loyal to the North East. What happened to that?
John, I've already answered these questions.
No, you haven't.
Actually, I have.
When?
When I did a Channel 4 News interview last week.
Oh, right, it's one broadcaster, isn't it? This is a pool interview for all the other broadcasters.
I think
these broadcasters agreed that the questions have been...
No, nobody agreed that at all. Well, I've got a list here of questions from other broadcasters.
All three broadcasters agreed. Everyone on this...
Nobody's agreed. No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
They all agreed this. Well, if that's where it's going to go, then we'll just leave, because that's not what we agreed to come here today to discuss.
Well, I kept trying, and Richard Holden there, not his finest hour, still has...
Labour will be reasonably happy with the way it's gone. They had a slightly wobbly debate, as Joe said, on Tuesday night, but I think they managed to turn that quite effectively from a row about, the £2,000 tax rise and whether it was true or not, to a row about whether you can trust the Tories on anything at all, which is much more comfortable ground for them. And it's completely right that they just want to roll through the campaign without creating any great controversies, which means that their campaign has been more boring than Rishi Sunak announcing a whole range of policies that don't make much sense, and Ed Davey falling off things, both of which are way more newsworthy. But if you ask who the happiest party is, the answer is the one that's 20 points ahead in the polls every time.
But the thing about campaigns is you think of them in terms of trying to win each day. So did we win today, or did the other lot win today? And something like the D-Day commemoration, that's an easy win for the governing party, because you turn up and look like a prime minister and meet people. So they've taken what was one of the days you would have marked down as definite Conservative Party win, and they turned it into Conservative Party loss. And that's a strange thing about that. They've knocked a potentially good day off and turned it into a disastrous one. Look, it might make a bit of difference, but I don't think it's like a turning point, because the turning point probably for the Conservative Party happened, 2 years ago.
Really interesting about this is I just don't think sorry is enough. But the problem is you normally expect, when people apologise, they normally sort of give some explanation as to why they did something. And the point with this is that there just isn't an explanation available from what we can see. There's no rationale, because everyone sort of assumed, it was because of the campaign he went back to do an interview. Then it emerged that it was already planned all along. I think it is a turning point. I don't think it's a turning point in terms of the polls. I'm not sure it will affect things particularly there. But what I do think it does is it makes it incredibly difficult for people that were clinging on by their fingertips to support the Conservatives, either at a local level or even, quite frankly, as candidates. Because if you look at what happened on Friday, if you're Penny Mordaunt and you're being predicted to lose your seat, Mel Stride, another one out today, who's also predicted to lose his seat, they're actually being forced to sort of defend what is essentially the indefensible. And so it makes it incredibly difficult for them. But at a local level, councillors, MPs, people in the community go to events around commemorating what happened during the war, year in, year out. They give up. They probably don't attend. They're probably not present for their kids' birthday parties and stuff, because they go and do what is part of their civic duty. It's what you do. It's what the Prime Minister does, representing the UK on a world stage. and at such an important event. And I think it makes it incredibly difficult for those people that are, the foot soldiers we always talk about, those people that are there to sort of do that really important role of talking to people on the doorstep, saying, well, I know you're saying you're a bit worried about the Conservatives, but we're going to do this and we're going to do that. When they're forced to have that conversation on the doorstep, I think it puts them in an impossible position.
You've got a bit of a nerve, haven't you, having a go at the Labour Party? You've raised our taxes by record amounts, £93 billion. You produce some figures, criticised by the boss of the Treasury, criticised by the chair of the UK Statistics Authority, criticised by the former head of the civil service. And yet you come to this interview and you repeat something that you've said that they all think is misleading.
Because it's right. And
After 14 years, 5 prime ministers, Boris Johnson lying about parties, Liz Truss almost crashing the economy, and you bunking off D-Day, after all the broken promises, you really think you deserve another chance?
I've been very clear in the past, no government gets everything right, but I am proud of what has been achieved over 14 years. This election is also about the future.
The Conservative Party always gets the country back on its feet. We have and I will say that again.
Perhaps Sunak's hoping that people will take pity on him and vote for the underdog. I'm not sure, but it's hard to imagine how an election campaign can go so badly wrong.